struggling with anxiety versus sensory overload. Once again, I'm going to read from the Self-Care for Autistic People book from Dr. Megan Nuff of Neurodivergent Insights. She specifically has a section in the book to distinguish the difference between anxiety versus sensory overload. The 2 points that she references are these. If your distress is primarily driven by external stimuli, such as loud noises, bright lights, or crowded environments, it's likely the result of sensory overload. If your distress is primarily driven by internal thoughts, worries, or emotional triggers, it's indicative of anxiety or other emotional-based experiences. Dr. Nuff references the work of Dr. Jonathan Dalton for the Center of Anxiety and Behavioral Change by noting that anxiety is the fear of potential future events driven by internal thoughts. Sensory dread, often experienced by many of us with autism, is the fear of known situations that can cause sensory overload. And for me, one of the hardest things that I do with my anxiety and how I struggle with my anxiety is being able to tell the difference between what's an anxiety point that is an anxiety of, normal anxiety or anxiety associated with my autism or my ADHD, and then what is sensory overload, which can feel like anxiety rising up inside of me. So Dr. Megan Nuff writes that both anxiety and sensory dread can cause you to avoid certain situations. When confronted with sensory dread, it can be helpful to prepare yourself in advance by using sensory blockers, or having an exit plan to take sensory breaks and limiting the amount of high sensory tasks in your day. For understanding the differences between your emotions and sensory overload allows you to respond with greater self-awareness and to take targeted actions to regulate yourself. It's like having a roadmap to guide you through the twists and turns of your inner world. More tips and ideas for how to deal with sensory overload and other things around your anxiety, our anxieties as people with autism and ADHD can be found inside Dr. Megan Nuff's book on self-care for autistic people. Do check it out.